To order. It's May 16th, 2024. Town of Southington Board of Finance meeting. Will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. We'll call the roll, please.
Mr. Lebenik.
Here.
Mr. Pocock.
Here.
Mr. Beaudoin.
Here.
Ms. Mazzarella. Here. Mr. Stanforth.
Present.
Chair Leary.
Here.
6 accounted for. You have a unanimous quorum.
Good.
A unanimous quorum.
Unanimous
I don't believe I've
quorum.
ever heard that before. Oh, boy.
Okay, there are no public hearing items tonight, so we'll go to old business, and we'll ask for the approval of the minutes of our April 10th meeting.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any amendment, any adjustments, changes, corrections?
Look good. Thank you.
Okay, all those in favor? Signify aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain? All right, minutes carry 6-0. That makes the minutes official. Now we have to adopt the mill rate for 2024-2025 fiscal year. Jim, do you want to just summarize what the town council did? We made our recommendation. That's how we left the budget with them, and then they made two adjustments, if I recall. They made a self-insurance adjustment, which
Sure.
and then another adjustment.
The council made, as the chairman said, just a couple of adjustments to the Board of Finance recommended budget. The first was to reduce the self-insurance contribution by $480,000. Now, in total, it'll be $600,000 because approximately 20% of that is shared by the employees. $480,000 is budgetary. $124,800 of that is on the general government side. $355,200 of that is on the school side. That's the first item that they changed, and the second item was a reduction to the Board of Education operations by $500,000. So the change, net budget-wise, $980,000.
Thank you. And I think we all know what the process is per charter, that we do our work, we make a recommendation. We could only make a recommendation to the town council, then they have to look at the total town from their perspective and the role of governance and decide whether they're going to accept our recommendation or change it. Two things usually happen. Something will come to light after we make our recommendation that was not known to us, and that's the self-insurance. So we were waiting for the next assessment of where we were with self-insurance and the incurred but not received and making an assessment. That happened after we made our recommendation. And then they could also make adjustments to our recommendation and say, yeah, we'll take your recommendation, but we want to do something else. That's all per charter. And then what they do is what they're doing tonight. They turn around and tell us what they did, and then only this board could set the mill rate. And just as a reminder, we could set it lower than the amount needed to fund the budget. We could set it higher than the amount needed to fund the budget. But traditionally, we've set it at the exact amount needed to fund the budget. And there's strategies to everything. We can tax a little more, and then we drive more revenue into the town, into savings. If we tax a little less, we put ourselves in a pickle, and we may have to call upon some current savings, but that's a little bit deeper into the story. So we now have to set the mill rate, and the mill rate is currently 30.36, and to fund this budget as adjusted by the town council, so the town council's adopted budget, to fund it, we would have to go up 1.08 mills and bring our mill rate from 30.36 to 31.44. What does that mean? That means a 3.56% increase in taxes for everybody, providing nothing else changed in their assessment. So if you have the same house with the same assessment, your taxes, you could expect them to go up 3.56% from this budget. Little beeping here. So that's the story. So I'll look for a motion to increase the mill rate 1.08 to a total of 31.44, and just confirm that's the number.
So moved.
I confirm that, Mr. Chairman, yes.
Motion by Mr. Lebenik, second by
Second.
Mr. Stanforth. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the mill rate? Mr. Pocock.
Just the only point, I know the council said that, but I just don't like the Board of Education being cut. That's just my feeling. Around this whole. I also know the standpoint, I've been around here 12 years with this. Tough to get this thing done. Back or other. Getting things. That's my own
Yeah.
theory on it, sir.
And I know it is 500,000 more of a reduction than we recommended as a board.
I kind of. And now they're taking another 6.
Well, some from the employee contribution.
Okay, say 480, whatever. Yeah. Reserves, though. I just feel like the reserves are getting. Additional cost of Board of Ed. And my third thing is.
Any other comments?
I voted in favor of the budget out of the, at a compromise balancing the need of the school district and the tax implication to the public. Town council cut more, so
I want to make
Yeah.
just one comment about the self-insurance committee, because I think it's important. Mr. Budoin and I both serve on the self-insurance committee, and there certainly can be differences of opinion about really two things: use of the excess reserves, and then also what the budget is set at for the upcoming fiscal year. But they are two separate things. So I wanted to mention, or I wanted to note, that the self-insurance committee had recommended using $1 million from use of reserves. The Board of Finance increased that to $1.2 million. As I understand it, the reduction from the town council of the extra $600,000 was not to utilize more reserves. It was in line with the most recent projection from our consultant about what fiscal year 24-25 was going to be, and that had changed, had come down $600,000. The self-insurance committee decided not to take action on that. They stuck with the projection prior to that, which is which everybody has their opinion on that. But I just wanted to note that there wasn't, the intent was not to increase use of reserve from the 1.2 that was recommended. It was to come in line with the most recent projection from the consultant for the upcoming fiscal year, which did come down $600,000. They're related, but they're separate and distinct.
Thank you. And I want to make one comment relating to just in general. I'm not the town council, and I did not advise the town council to do as they did. Our recommendation was what we recommended. But when you look at, they cut the Board of Ed budget, and there's some concern, well, why didn't they cut general government too? If they're going to make a cut for whatever reason, why one or the other? That you'd have to ask them. But one of the things we have to remember here on this board, we have a policy that says that 11% of general fund revenues will be set aside in undesignated fund balance, which we loosely have nicknamed the rainy day fund. So what that means is for every dollar we increase spending, we have to put 11 cents into the rainy day fund. We do not have a line item anywhere in our budget to do that. How that's achieved is, I can't see here how much spending went up. If you could just tell me while I'm talking, how much spending went up from last year.
Actually, it's in the area of a little bit over 4%. I gave my sheet.
Yeah, but in total dollars, like
7.3 million.
So just say
I gave
roughly-
my sheet to Kevin. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
yeah, 8%. 11% of 7.3 million.
Yeah.
You're looking at I don't know, close to $800,000.
That's correct.
We'd have to increase the rainy day fund because we've increased spending. So that line item doesn't exist anywhere in the budget. So a lot of times and it does not come from the Board of Ed. So the Board of Ed represents most of our spending increase, yet the funding of the rainy day fund comes from the general government side. Now, we are one town. We can't forget that. We're one town. We don't want to fraction or fracture our town into two pieces. But we need to generate a surplus. And a lot of people are shocked every year when they say, "Ooh, the town of Southington generated a surplus." It's a surplus by design, in a way, because we have to generate the surplus to cause it to go into the general fund, and in return, having it go in there puts that extra 800,000 or so, 900,000 that we need to maintain the 11% in the rainy day fund. Now, thankfully, we have more than that, but if we were just at the policy limit and we only had 11% and we increased spending X amount of million, we'd have to increase 11% of that into our rainy day fund. And right now we generate that through relying on a surplus. We do not have a line item to budget to increase our rainy day fund for new spending. So maybe it's something we want to think about going forward, but that a lot of times that's the impetus not to cut the general government side. Because if you cut the general government side and force us not to be able to generate a surplus, then how are we going to fund and keep the rainy day fund in line with the policy? But again, thankfully we have more than the policy. It's not necessarily an issue now, but it will be someday. And we should have some mechanism in our budget that every time we increase spending a dollar, we increase rainy day fund 11 cents, and we build it right into our budget. Something for us to talk about, because we're kind of doing it through the back door now. But if you do cut the general government side, you impair the ability for us to drive that much of a surplus. So just another perspective on it. Any more discussion on the budget? And right here, our job right now is only math, right? It's only to look at the budget that's before us from the town council of $180,836,575, and then apply the mill rate to generate those taxes. Not a matter of whether we like or agree with the budget. It's just a matter of math at this point, mathematics, that we're the last set of eyes on the mill rate, so an error doesn't happen and people get over or under taxed. That's all. That's the only reason why we set the mill rate. It's more just for that last piece of assurance where the finance director looks at it, the people on the Board of Finance look at it and say, yep, if you want to spend $180,836,575, if that's the number you, town council, want to spend, then the mill rate needs to be 31.44. It doesn't matter what we think about it. That's the number it needs to be, and we need to increase the mill rate, and that's our responsibility, and only the Board of Finance can do that. So that was my last piece of discussion. So we'll go on a roll call vote on the mill rate.
Edward Pocock,
Yes.
Kevin Bodwin,
No.
Candace Mazzarella,
No.
Wayne Stanforth,
Yes.
Joe Lebenick,
Yes.
Chair John Larry.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-2.
Okay. So the mill rate for the new year will be 31.44, 1.08 mill increase for a percentage increase of 3.56 in taxes. So be it. Okay. Next item. I need that gavel. One night I didn't bring it. Mill rate. Okay, the next thing is something new, or we always have every now and then we have something new. Mr. Stanforth brought up a while ago, we were looking at taxes. And generally how taxes work are, we have a grand list that has all the values of the property in town, which is some $4.687 billion. That's the value of all the property in town. And then we multiply that value by the mill rate, and everybody who owns that property pays their share. It sounds pretty simple. If you own a car, it has a value. You multiply the value by the mill rate, that's the tax you owe on the car. If you have business property, you add it all up, you value it, you multiply it by the mill rate, and that's what you pay. If you have a house or a piece of land, commercial property, residential property, you get the assessed value, multiply it by the mill rate, and that's the amount you pay. But that's not exactly true. There are some situations where it's not simple math, and I'll admit I'm not aware of all of them. And Mr. Stanforth asked, who out there is not just straight paying the assessed value of the property times the mill rate equals a tax? What kind of programs do we have that allow people not to pay the full amount? That's step one here. So Teresa Babin is with us, thank you, and our tax assessor, and we'll go through, we'll go through a little presentation on taxes and what programs are currently in existence that people pay something other than what.
That's good?
That's good.
Okay. So thank you. As Chairman Leary mentioned, I was asked to put a presentation together speaking about the exemptions and the abatement programs we have. This is strictly for residential taxes. This does not address the commercial abatements that we may be offering. This is strictly residential. And most, if not all, of our programs are governed by state statute. So it's always, in this presentation, I'm always going to give the statutory reference if anybody wants to look it up and see the language in more detail. But this is all determined by state statute. Some statutes contain enabling legislation, which gives the municipality the ability to create some additional programs, and the town of Southington has done mostly all that it can. So the first one that we're going to talk about is they used to call it the circuit breaker way back in the day. It's the elderly or totally disabled homeowner program. There are a few requirements to qualify for this program. You have to be 65 years old, and you have to have occupied this residence as your primary residence for at least 1 year. Or you, regardless of your age, are 100% disabled per the Social Security Administration. The income limits that are drafted for qualification are set by OPM every year, and they are changed every year. Currently, for the most recent 23 grand list that we just finished accepting applications for yesterday, the income limit for a married couple is $53,400. And the income limit for a single individual is $43,800. And there is a formula that we have to follow when we take the applications. We ask that the residents bring in their income tax filing. If they do file, we ask that they do that before they come in for qualification. And if they don't file, some people have just, aged out of filing income tax returns, so we do ask that they bring us their Social Security statement their 1099 and any other documentation that represents any income they get on the annual basis. So we fill out the application, we run it through the formula in the computer, compare it to the income limits, and determine whether or not that person qualifies for this program. This is the most popular elderly program we have. The benefits are not an assessment exemption in this case. The calculations will determine how much the individual or the married couple receive off of their actual tax bill. So it's tax dollars that we are calculating here. And it can range anywhere up to $1,250 for a married couple or $1,000 for a single person. The other requirement is that they have to reapply every 2 years. So we have people that apply during the odd years, people that apply during the even years. If they fail to come in on their year, they are automatically dropped from the program. There are situations where they can appeal to OPM because the window for filing is very strict. It's February 1st to May 15th every year, and the deadline is the deadline. But OPM has indicated that they are they're open to accepting requests for extensions, and we have to date for this particular application year, we have one request to OPM that has been approved by OPM, and we've been instructed to accept the application up till August 15th, I think. So there is a way around missing the deadline if you do for whatever reason. There's no other mechanism in this particular statute that gives the municipality the ability to make any changes to it or offer anything additional. It is what it is, subject to the income limits that are set every year by OPM. Currently, we have 403 participants in this program for a total of $232,680. That's tax dollars.
Now, is that just a part of the uncollectible?
That's what the amount that you're looking at, that the tax rate, the mill rate's based upon, is the net amount.
The
All right,
state
these are-
used to reimburse half of that to
Okay.
the municipalities, but that went out the window a long time ago.
Correct.
Yeah,
So that becomes a shortfall on our part in collecting taxes.
that's an unfunded
They just
mandate.
say, this is a program, you offer it, you collect less taxes because of it.
Yes.
So it has to be in our uncollectible tax way.
Well, we do it as our,
Yeah,
Right.
we do it net.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's not,
Yeah.
Technically, you're correct, we
Yeah.
don't collect the taxes, but the way we show it to you guys is, we have,
Okay.
obviously, we have our grand list, we figure out the net number, because we
Gotcha.
reduce it all by then.
Okay.
correct.
Teresa gives us all the net numbers.
Yeah. Any
Okay.
other questions on this particular program? I'm going to move on.
No, so if we had 1,000 participants, we'd have to take them all. There's no limit on them. Whoever applies in our town.
Whoever
meets the
applies,
criteria.
meets the criteria, yes, we would have to take all of them.
Okay, got it.
Okay. It's income based, yeah, it's based on their adjusted gross income every year, but it allows for them to not have to claim disability income and a couple of other things that we don't have to add into their adjusted gross income, so it lowers the qualifying income to hopefully put them within that income limit
Okay.
to qualify. So there's another program. I don't think we talk about it too much. We don't administer this program through the assessor's office. Thankfully, the Calendar House is the location that takes care of this. This program does not affect our mill rate at all. I just want to be clear in that. I just thought it might be worth mentioning that there is a renter's rebate. The previous program I discussed was only for homeowners. This particular program, the fixed requirements for this, again, you have to be 65 years old or totally disabled, but instead of owning your home, you either have to be a resident of public housing or rent an apartment here in town or rent a lot in a mobile home park. So the mobile home residents, while they own their home, the actual structure, they are paying rent to the mobile home park for the lot. So anybody that lives in a mobile home park, while they do not qualify for the homeowner program, they would qualify for this one. So they can show up at the Calendar House. The filing period is the same, February 1st to May 15th. The state mandates the income limits. They are a little different than the homeowner program, and so therefore I don't have them available. But what the benefit is for this program is an annual rebate. They actually get a check cut from the Connecticut State Treasurer's Office in an amount of $900 if they're married or $700 if you're single. There are approximately 300 participants in this program. And again, it does not affect our mill rate.
Because it's a state paying them.
Yeah.
Okay, but
Okay.
thanks for mentioning
Yeah.
it.
We have a program, I'm sorry, oh my. We have a program we call the Freeze. This was a program that the town of Southington adopted in their local ordinances way back in 2007. The fixed requirements for this program are that the homeowner has to be 70 years old and has to have occupied the residence for at least 1 year. And in 2018, when I was part of the tax relief committee with Mr. Bose, we ended up, I believe we increased the qualifying income limits because the statute gives us the ability to do that in this case. So we opted for those state OPM set income limits plus 7,000 because the income limits that the state generates are a little on the low side, makes it difficult for as many people to qualify.
Did you do that for the town, or were you two on a state committee?
No, that was the town.
Were you here in 2000?
No, I was in
Oh,
I was in Wallingford and asked to be on the
Okay.
committee. Yeah,
Establish the committee to review
Yeah.
this stuff.
and I believe Teresa, the 7,000 was new at that time, which
Yes.
is why the council had inquired as to can we take a look at this new portion of enabling legislation.
Yeah. So the committee at that time decided to recommend using the state income limits, but adding $7,000 to that. The amount of tax dollars, so what happens is if somebody applies and, excuse me, they qualify, their taxes will be frozen in perpetuity as long as they continue to own the home at that, let's say it's at $2,500 a year, so your tax bill is frozen at that amount. If the next year your tax bill ends up increasing to $3,000, you would have a $500 deferment, and you would not have to pay that, but that $500 would be liened on the town records. From what I understand, originally the committee in 2007 had recommended that there be no lien, but there was some opposition to that amongst the residents, and so the committee met again and decided to put a lien on the deferred amount at a reduced interest. Instead of 18% a year, the interest on the deferred amount is only 5%, simple interest. And then upon termination from the program, when the person no longer owns the home, the total outstanding amount would be paid. Currently, there are 2 participants in this program. So there's not a whole lot of interest in this program, primarily because of the lien.
So I see that kind of like the thinking behind a reverse mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
So you pay less, it comes out of the equity of your home, but when you no longer need the home, as the home gets sold, the town gets reimbursed
Yes.
with a modest interest. Not a bad thing,
Nope.
but it's not a gift
No.
either. It's purely
It's an
Yeah.
it's an attempt to keep the homeowner in the home for as long as possible,
Mm-hmm.
because that seems to be a big concern for the elderly population. So
for 2 of them anyway.
yeah, exactly. So the next one is similar. This one is pursuant to a different general statute, and this is one that we took advantage of when we met in 2018, and we decided to add another type of freeze program with different requirements. This requirement, we said the homeowner, instead of having to be 70, we're going to lower that, and we're going to offer this program to homeowners that are 65. and the same income limits apply. So the OPM set limits each year plus 7,000. You have to reside in town for at least 6 months plus 1 day of each year. And I think this was in an attempt to appeal to the snowbirds that maybe aren't here 100% of the time. Another requirement we had asked is that they don't owe any delinquent taxes except for those deferred amounts that would result from participating in this program. This is just a flat $250 tax credit per qualifying household, and the program has a cap of $250,000 per year. So we were optimistic and thought that there might be a large number of people that would apply for this. There is a lien on the deferred amount, but in this particular program, there's 0% interest on the deferred amount. So we were trying to one up, if you will, the
Yep.
previous program I was talking about, and we have 0 participants in this program right now.
That's because people don't know about it, or people don't?
I think it's because of the lien. Interest
Okay.
or no interest, people in that category of, age, they do not want to lien on their house. They,
Okay.
Regardless of what the purpose is, they seem to have a problem with that, unfortunately. So that's it really for the elderly. Straight up
Okay.
elderly or 100% totally disabled. So we're going to merge a little bit into disability. So we do have some programs. Again, I put the statutory references if you want to look at them in more detail. Some of them are very simple, like the exemptions for our citizens that are blind. There are currently 18 participants in this program. It's a $3,000 assessment exemption for the 18 participants. That's a total of $1,730 tax dollars. And you can see going down, of those 18, the town of Southington took advantage of the municipal option that qualifies the blind citizen for getting an additional $2,000 assessment exemption, provided they qualify with those income limits that OPM sets every year. So if you're totally disabled, you qualify for the homeowner program, and you would qualify for a $1,000 assessment exemption on your house. So the homeowner program is going to be a reduction in your tax dollars, and this essentially is, with this current mill rate we are just finishing up, that would be an additional $30.36 off of your tax bill. There are 169 participants that qualify as totally disabled. So that's
$30, $30 US dollars.
yeah, a whole $30.
Okay.
There's also a statute that gives the municipality the ability to totally exempt the value of a vehicle that has been equipped to be made operable by the person with disabilities, or to transport that person with disabilities. We have 30 people taking advantage of that for the $24,000 tax amount. We also have a volunteer fire rebate
Wait,
pursuant.
back up to the last one. I was
Sure
just taking
thing.
it. Thank you.
Yeah.
I was just taking a note. So the vehicle, is there a limit? So so you can buy a brand new one, a used one, any kind of
Any kind of
equipped
vehicle. You can buy it equipped already. I have somebody that's coming in next week that has put us on notice that he is purchasing a vehicle. It's already going to have the modifications done to it, and that's perfectly fine. I just need to see it, take a picture, fill out the application, and the total assessment of that vehicle will be exempted off the grand
So
list.
that's a good one.
Sure.
That's got impact.
Yep,
So the 24,000 is the.
tax
School
dollars.
assessed value.
That's tax dollars, yeah. And we have vehicles, I mean, some of them are like a 2000 Dodge Caravan that's been, retrofitted to this brand new one this gentleman is coming with next week that is probably, I mean, it could be $50,000.
Try the 80.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know there's companies that refurbish older ones
Mm-hmm.
For people who can't afford them, whatever. But it's a great program,
Yep.
though. If you have impact, the other ones are all.
I get you.
And also be placed in the minutes.
Okay, this is good.
And I actually, Jim, just make sure I get you the updated one, because I was making changes up until 5 o'clock tonight. Yeah,
That's why I didn't print them.
yeah,
I don't want to waste the.
thank
It's a
you.
nice presentation to have, though. You could
Sure,
pull it out for anybody who comes in the office.
yep,
Okay,
okay.
thank you.
So
Thank you
back
for-
to the volunteer fire.
Okay,
Pursuant to Connecticut statute, gives us the ability to rebate $1,000 or $2,000 to the volunteer firemen in town. Actually, yeah, depending upon the percentage of the call responses. So the information is provided to our tax collector's office by the fire department. We have 27 current volunteer firefighters for a total of 37,000 tax dollars. Then the retired participants each get $2,000, and we have 30 of those. And I do have a summary slide at the end which totals everything, so in case you're trying to
Okay.
keep.
that one cost us money.
Yes.
Yeah.
We do ask that anybody getting a rebate check have ensure that their taxes have been paid first. So that is one of the qualifications. We have it set up so that if for whatever reason they were unable to pay their taxes, we take, with their permission, part of their rebate check to satisfy their tax obligation, and then they get the balance.
Okay.
We don't check that. We could certainly check that. It hasn't really, yeah.
Well, we want to encourage people to be volunteer firemen.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I hope that everybody out there becomes aware of this, if they're not already. Another incentive to be out there in that program.
Okay,
right, who's this guy?
so now we have veteran relief, not necessarily elderly, but residents nonetheless that receive benefits pursuant to Connecticut state statute. Some of them are, again, municipal options. Every veteran that has been honorably discharged and that has served at least 90 days during a time of war, and those time periods are all delineated via, the Department of Veterans Affairs. Every veteran that meets those criteria receives a $2,000 exemption benefit on the assessment of property owned by them or held in trust for them. So either $2,000 assessment off your home. If you happen to rent, you don't own your home, you get that $2,000 base benefit off the assessment of your vehicle. We
In
have,
addition to other things they may be able.
yes. So there's almost 1,200 participants, which translates to 70,000 and change in tax dollars. The veterans, the program that has been set up for the veterans dictates that in addition to that $2,000 base amount, every vet qualifying also receives a supplemental benefit equal to half of that $2,000. So that's an additional $1,000. There are almost 1,100 participants in that. The caveat here is that if they have a lower income threshold, they may qualify for, instead of half that base, they would qualify for double that base. So they would qualify for $4,000. And that's a whole different form that we have to fill out, and we take into consideration. This is another one where if they're a disabled vet, that income is not counted towards their adjusted gross income in an attempt to help them qualify. But you can see it's a substantial decrease in the amount of people that qualify for that based on those income limits. There's only 74 participants out of the almost 1,200 that fit within that income threshold. 4,000 assessment dollars.
That's tax.
Yep. It's, it gets confusing. I'm sorry. Maybe I should have been a little clearer, but yeah, the benefit is the 4,000 assessment exemption, and the participants is how much in tax dollars.
So it's the 31 mill rate against the 4,000.
Here's a local option that Southington has taken advantage of. So the town, actually, this particular statute gives the town a little bit more leeway. We added this ordinance to our code back in 2003. It's an assessment exemption of $10,000. Statute allows the town to adopt an assessment of exemption of up to $20,000, but Southington opts for 10, which is actually, I think, the median. I think Southington is doing a really good job in what they're offering compared to other municipalities similar to us in size and population. So the town set these limits. $67,200 for married couples or $59,600 for singles. And a couple years ago, we got a request from a pretty savvy vet, and I don't know if we ever thought of this or why we never took advantage of it, but he said, the town set these limits back in 2003, but we keep getting increases in our income every year. So these vets were starting to
So they're
fall
in the
out
same
of the
financial
program.
position, but the program had no escalation, no
Right.
inflation built in.
Right. So, so we decided to agree with him. We were, thanks for that. Thanks for that. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry that we didn't do this, but now every year I adjust the income limits pursuant to the Social Security Administration COLA that they release at the end of each year. And so hopefully that's going to stop the vets from falling out of this program due to their increased income. So we have 377 participants for just over 111,000 tax dollars. This is disabled veterans. So we talked about disabled
What was the
citizens.
other one?
I'm sorry?
What was the one before? Oh, regular veterans.
That was regular veterans. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Now we're moving on to the disabled veterans who have different statutory requirements and qualification points than your non-veteran citizen. So the base benefit, depending upon your level of service-related disability, is anywhere from $4,000 to $7,000. So instead of your $1,000 base veteran benefit, $2,000, I'm sorry, instead of your $2,000 base benefit for a non-disabled veteran, the disabled veterans would qualify for anything from $4,000 to $7,000, and it's like a scale of 0 to 25% disability, 26 to 50% disability, and the Department of Veteran Affairs gives them a letter, which we require so that we can determine the percentage of disability. And similar to the base veteran exemption, once you get your base, depending upon your level of service-related disability, again, you either automatically get half of that as a supplemental exemption, or if you meet the income requirement guidelines, you would get double. So you see there, 239 participants for the half, and then there's 40 of our disabled vets that fall underneath that income threshold, and they qualify for double their base benefit. Carrying on with disabled veteran relief, this local option Southington has taken advantage of. There's a total assessment exemption for a residence owned by a veteran or used to house that veteran or held in trust for that veteran. We have 2 participants, 2 disabled veterans who have homes that have been specially outfitted for their disability. And that translates into over $50,000 in taxes. Then there's a whole slew of other statutes that are served to help out the surviving spouse of a veteran, the minor child, or the parent of a veteran. So depending upon what category they fall into, they qualify for $1,000, $2,000, or $4,000 in assessment exemption. We have 721 participants, so that is the majority of that is made up of the surviving spouse. So this number keeps increasing while the 283 number will be decreasing. As the veterans pass, and leave a surviving spouse. So this number will go down, but the surviving spouse number will go up. There's an active duty benefit for current residents that are active duty. They can be stationed anywhere, but if they have a motor vehicle tax issued by the town of Southington, they are entitled to a full exemption of that motor vehicle. They do have to provide us with an application filled out and signed by their commanding officer, or if not by the commanding officer, they have to show us their military identification. We have 49 participants. And here's the summary I was talking about, just going across. All the numbers here correlate to the numbers that were shown in previous slides for a total, and that's tax dollars, $769,970. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
I mean, it seems like in the talk, though, there's a lot of programs, even the dollars for any veteran or military service.
Yes,
But if you fall in that group where you're not military,
yes.
that's the gray area.
Yes, and that's what we found the last time we met back in 2018. That's definitely crystal clear when you're going through the statutes. So this conclusion slide just talks about the potential for increases. The only thing that we can change with the elderly or totally disabled homeowner relief is if we change the parameters to the two freeze programs we offer, which, as you may remember, I referenced a lien that would be put. And, we could certainly try to make it a little more appealing to the elderly or totally disabled. I don't know that anything would help. As long as that lien is still in place, I don't see there being a huge demand.
So it's more the stigma of the lien or the thought of having pay off my house.
Yep.
I want some relief,
Yeah.
but I don't want it bad enough to have somebody slap a lien on my house.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, and then again, I mentioned with the veterans, Southington's local option provides them with a $10,000 exemption off the assessment. I mentioned during that slide that we do have the ability to go up to a $20,000 exemption if we wanted to do that. And then this last point here, Mark and I were talking about this earlier this week, and I found out some information today which kind of made me throw up my hands and say, what are we doing here? Because we were trying to go through the spreadsheet we have of our disabled veterans. So there was a House Bill 5491 that was passed, creating Public Act 24-46. And what it appears to call for, Mark and I both agree, it appears to call for a total exemption of property for 100% permanent, totally disabled veterans. And so 100% of the assessment of their home. If they don't own a home, 100% exemption off of their vehicle, which right now, we're between 2,000 and 4,000, maybe an additional 10,000. This public act appears to call for 100% exemption. So I had gotten staff and we were going through our spreadsheets and we found a couple problems in that some of the letters that the VA would send were not as clear as they needed to be to give us the guidance we need. And so I brought this to OPM's attention. I was emailing with a gentleman today, and I let him know that, what do I do? I have to make a presentation, and I want to give the most accurate information possible.
You tell them that Board of Finance chair is just
Yeah.
something else.
I mean, I want my information to be correct.
Yeah.
So I, reached out, and he said OPM will be looking at all legislation soon and putting out some guidance. And so I said, okay, I'll try to be
Right.
patient. I'm not known for that. But then he said, I do not think, and this is, I'm sure he's fine with me saying this, but I do not think they wrote that bill exactly the way they intended it to work. So if they're not looking for us to exempt 100% of the home, like, what do you mean? What are we supposed to? So instead of spinning my wheels, I kind of just said, all right, I'm going to give them a range. So this would, if it truly means 100% of their home assessment has to be exempted, then that would mean an additional $270,000 in tax that we would lose. up to $485,000, depending upon the criteria that they're looking
So
for.
that's some cap?
Uh,
485, or that's your assess, your,
That's me looking at my list
Okay.
where we have, all the
so
all
you know
the
who's
disab-
permanently
Yeah.
disabled, you have an idea.
I have an idea, so it's going to be up to in that range, and depending upon, because some of the letters say that their evaluation resulted in an 80% disability, but then further down the letter it says that they are getting paid according to 100% disability. So we don't know.
This is one where we had discussions over this because when it was passed, I was confused by it. CCM's a little confused by it. But according to the markup of the bill, this is supposed to only affect 1,000 residents in the state of Connecticut. So that's why when T and I were talking about it, that if you look at 169 cities and towns in the state, if you average it out, Southington maybe has one or two of them. If you do the numbers, maybe three. That being said, when we looked at our sheet, we had more than that. So
we had
so
over 100.
yeah. So and I said, nah, something's wrong here. So that's why we're confused about that. So I know CCM's checking on it, but T's going to find out first. OPM is the one who has
Yeah.
to make the adjustment on
Yeah.
that. So.
So I just wanted to let you know that we're
Okay.
on top of it. We just have to wait for guidance.
This was a great presentation. I think it's one of the better ones we've ever had on things where we take a deep dive. Yeah, go ahead.
I did have a question.
Sure.
Yeah.
You say we're limited to what we can do by the state.
Yeah.
This is a newsletter from another town saying, and I don't want everybody to move
that's
out
fine.
of Southington and go to this other town.
I mean, it would make it easier for me to get clarification if I knew the town, but
We'll
that's
set up
okay.
a team after.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine.
So it can differ by town from town then, where other towns?
I'm not aware that there's any legislation other than what
They're saying
we've,
up to $23.90 in property tax relief for the elderly.
2,390
Yeah. For income.
for the elderly.
I'm sorry?
For the elderly. I'm just
Elderly.
repeating what you said to make
Correct.
sure I'm understanding.
Yep. And gross income of. Oh, I don't know how these other towns can have different amounts, so we'll look into that then
Absolutely.
further. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I just had a quick question.
Sure.
Income criteria, but why is the married only slightly?
That's no OPM. Yep, that comes from OPM every year. Yeah. No, it's definitely
Maybe
not
that's from an
double.
old ratio when,
But the last thing I want to say is, though, is that we should all learn a little bit of history here on why we have a lien. The council passed an ordinance where we did not have a lien. Under our charter, someone could challenge a town ordinance. And if they get enough signatures, it goes to referendum. That happened. So what happened was I drafted the ordinance, it got approved by the council, it got challenged. It went to referendum, and the ordinance was defeated because we did not require a lien on the property and interest. So originally there was going to be no interest and all that. So that's why those are in there. The council at the time fully thought, as you do, T, that it would get more people involved in that. But it did go to referendum. The public voted, the public spoke, and the council's been respecting that since then.
Okay. all right. Well, any further questions?
Thank you for taking.
Thank you very much. If you just hang out for a minute for the next item, and then, just so you could hear the next item. So,
Wayne, you want to get the mic?
oh,
Turn on your motor.
T, you can, it won't go off totally if you want to hit the, yeah, it'll shut that off, but it won't, yeah, okay. It's got to cool down first, but.
Okay.
It's got to cool down first.
that was very, very informative for us, and it sets the tone for the next item. And again, Mr. Stanforth brought this up, and we know, and we didn't even get you into, Teresa, all the abatements for a new business coming into town. Maybe we'll take that up separately. The focus here was on the individual. While we were, in the middle of this, that nothing happens fast because we meet monthly. But while we were in the middle of this, I went and made the presentation to the town council regarding the recommended budget. And while I was there, a gentleman got up and spoke and said, I'm in a particular situation here, and I want to make you, town council, aware of that situation. Here's my situation. How do I face this situation? And I'm not going to get into the details, but that presentation kind of resonated with a citizen who's with us and with people who watched it on video and the town council. So I got to say that when people come before this board in public communications or they come before town council and they really make an appeal from the heart, I think, they really get a lot of attention, and town council does listen. And that's a nice thing about our town, whoever's on the town council, whatever. So we will have public communications again, and we have that gentleman with us tonight. We'll keep that until public communications. But the second point I wanted to do was to set up a team to take a look at the stuff that Teresa talked about, the options available to us, to look at what other towns. One town was mentioned in the speech in the public communications. I think it was the town of Newtown was mentioned that they may have a program. Other towns, Mr. Stanforth found a town with advertising a program. So we have to look around at what our other municipalities are doing, what we're doing, what's possible, and what the cost is, and let this team come back to this board with some ideas. And then this board could take it up, and then, of course, when we package it up, we would then take it to town council, who's our governing body, and say, we have some work we've done, and we'd like to share with you that work and also make a recommendation. So tonight, I would like to establish a team to review options regarding residential need-based property tax relief. I can't promise, I don't want anyone to misinterpret the words, because it's very clear to me that for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So when one person, if we designate one person in town and say, this very special person, for a very special reason, does not have to pay tax, well, then everybody else is going to have to pay more to cover that person. That's clear. That's the way it works. Because the cost of the town don't change. It'd be different if we said, okay, 5 people don't have to pay tax, and we're going to reduce expenses by that amount, and it's net neutral. But we have a budget, and we have a certain amount of tax we need to generate. We spread that around based upon property, and from the presentation tonight, there are different discounts, some paid by the state, some absorbed by the town. I think we just have to be aware that whatever program we put together and suggest, we look at it in terms of who it benefits, how it benefits them, is it impactful to them? One of them's $30 off. I don't know who would, it's the gas to come down and apply for it is, something's wrong with that particular item. But we have to look at this and make sure it's impactful to the people we want to help. It comes with a cost. Maybe we got to put a cap on it. I don't want to get ahead of the team, but we come back with what the art of the possible. I mean, what can we do? Propose it back to this board, and then this board as a whole takes it up, looks at it, asks some questions, writes it up in a nice manner, and then brings it before council as a recommendation. And we got to make sure, we don't throw, the world out of balance. We do it properly and intelligently. But I want to assign some people to the team, and I want it to be an agile team, not a big, burdensome, bureaucratic type team, but a team that's going to go out, meet, look this thing over. So first of all, Mr. Stanforth, because he brought it forward, Mr. Stanforth will serve on that team.
I'd be honored. Thank you.
And Mr. Palmieri, retired deputy chief, and if anybody doesn't know, yesterday in the town of Southington was dedicated William Palmieri Day. Of course, they didn't tell him till about 8 o'clock last night, so he only got to enjoy the very tail end of it. But he was honored to have received many, many awards in this town for his volunteer work. His career work, he got a whole lot of things too, but in his volunteer work, he's everywhere, whether it's a church or a Bread for Life board or a STEPS board. I was in the gas station pumping gas, and the gas pump was talking to me, and it was Mr. Palmieri talking about kids and drugs. And I said, oh, he's everywhere. But anyway, it's great to have somebody with that passion and energy. It was Bill Palmieri, who was at that town council meeting, who heard the appeal from the gentleman from town about the taxes and kind of said, what are we going to do about that? Why do these situations exist? And so Mr. Palmieri agreed to be on that board as well, on this team. So far we've got 2 members. I'd like to be involved in it, and I look for a couple other ones if we have anybody else. Mrs. Mazzarella? Mrs. Mazzarella will be on it, and the team can meet when it wants, and there's no pressure. So it doesn't have to come back to us in a week. It can drag on as long as it has momentum. It could be, several months out. As long as the team is making progress, having momentum, looking at what's available in other towns, consulting with Teresa Babin in our tax department. Is this, what do you know about the statute? Is this possible? Maybe in a consultatory basis, Teresa could help us advise the team as needed. And if anybody else we find that would like to step up on the team, kind of looking for 5, we have 4, but we could certainly move ahead.
Make sure there's only 3 of you.
Yeah.
You have 3 now.
Yeah, we have 3 now, yeah.
This board, right.
Well, we'd like to, anybody else, if there's another member watching or listening, but we'll move forward. We could always add members as we go. But the charge to the team is to look out at what our statutes are, to look back at the presentation from Teresa. What are we doing today? Where are the gaps in that? Where is that not helping people effectively? Are our programs being communicated? Is the stigma of a lien causing people not to accept those programs? Whatever we do, but we're looking forward to what can we do to help people truly in need, and what will be the cost? Do we put a cap on it? What do you have to do we just got to see what the possible is. I can't sit here and I just don't know.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So I'll stop there and we'll set up the team.
Excellent.
Okay. All right. Now the financial assessment of the town, Mr. Bose. We'll go quickly through these because we got a big agenda, a lot of items tonight. So, and thank you, Teresa. Now we think we're good. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item 1 is obviously it's the standard cast of characters. But item 1 is the revenues.
Yep.
Which you're seeing there as presented in the packet. Obviously, the strength of interest rates hanging on to actually, believe it or not, slight increases of about 5, 7, 6 basis points since over the last couple of months. I know no one was really expecting that, but those revenues continue to be very strong. And you can see from item 1 there that's in the packet. It's approximately $4 million. In total,
Question, if you could, Mr. No.
Yeah.
approximately 3.4 million of that being
We're gonna
interest, just for the
We're going to
record.
be going to bonding pretty soon, so.
We are,
we're
yes,
gonna be on the other side of the interest rate.
yes, we are.
overall.
Yes, we are.
With that extra interest,
I budgeted for 5% coupon,
okay.
but only for 6 months because and you are correct, we're going to be bonding, I think I said somewhere in the fall, probably September-ish, possibly October-ish. And frankly, if it looks like the Fed might be meeting, in August or something like that, we might just hang on because we want to see any potential reduction in rates benefit us if we go out to bond. But yeah, that right now, sitting here, we anticipate in the fall. And I did budget a 5% coupon for year 1. which is what we would pay back.
Explain that that's not going to be for the whole 20 years.
That won't be for the whole 20
Don't
years. no.
scare everybody on that.
No, thank you, Mark. Yeah, in all seriousness, I wasn't trying to frighten anybody. But, the last bond issue, the coupon rates in the first few years were 5%. 4 3/4 to 5%. And as time kind of went on, the rates came down. And when they averaged it out, it was 3 1/4 or something like 3.40 or something like that.
Jim, do those rates change?
They don't change once you sell the bonds, but they are different rates for each year of the bonds.
So when do they set all the rates?
When we sell the bonds,
So
we accept bids. We use a competitive process to our financial advisor, and we receive electronic bids, which come up on a screen and they're actually all calculated. They have to be verified. Of course, that takes about an hour.
So the current year,
Well, the underwriters bid what they're trying to sell or keep in their portfolio. So they might be bidding right now because the current rates are a little bit higher than sort of midterm rates and definitely 5-year rates, 10-year rates. So right now, they're bidding higher on those first few years. And then as it comes down, they're bidding probably where they're anticipating what things like the 10-year, 20-year Treasury bonds are going to be doing. That's where they kind of target. Whether or not that actually works out for them, I don't know.
So in a couple
All right.
months, we'll have a better idea of what's going on.
I said that a few months ago, and I hope so, Wayne.
As we get closer. Thank you.
I hope so.
Okay.
Item 2, expenditures, as I just put on there. There's nothing in there that really frightened us. We're very late in the year, which is great. Other than, of course, that continuing, lingering problem, which Mr. Schultz has discussed with you with regards to AMR, the AMR case in the legal budget. The third item, the contingency review of the town manager's contingency line item is item 7-3. And as you see, prior to this meeting, $330,696 was approved by this board and the council versus the original budget of $600,000. There is $30,000 before you on tonight's agenda, again, for that same case I just talked about. And if you folks approve it, as well as the council in a couple of weeks, the line item, the town manager's contingency line item will have a balance of a little over $239,000,
Which makes it still good. We upped it.
which makes us feel good in May. That's
A
correct.
month to go, yeah.
Yeah, remember that we're sitting in great shape because Mother Nature helped.
Yeah,
us
no
out
storm.
every year.
Yeah.
A benign winter.
Okay.
Item number 4, I will be presenting when the June 30th year is over.
Yeah.
I might be presenting that to you folks at your July meeting. It won't be the closed out for the capital project, but that'll be the next quarter. And review of other funds, item 5, there have been none requested. So
Okay. Thank you. Any questions? All right. Let's go to our subcommittee. Sewer. Anything?
Yeah, I mean, the equipment, there's always pieces of equipment that are very expensive for that. You'll see one on the agenda today to help with scooping up some stuff into the toppers. We're gonna have some. We're gonna have some stuff very technical.
Could you explain that? It went over my head.
He showed it to us. It's just black stuff.
not on camera. Not on camera.
Okay.
Yeah, and but we're gonna have some expenses coming up with the cleaning up the old site there with in there. But hopefully the money's in there in the sewer fund and we'll be okay.
Public Works.
I was unable to attend.
Yeah. Mary Ann, and I believe that's something that has to be brought up.
See some MS4 stuff, ARPA MS4 stuff on your agenda. Two big things, obviously, that everyone is concerned about. The Planceville project is still on schedule to finish late fall, and the trail is also scheduled for late fall to finish. Full trail. The section of the trail they're currently working on, yeah.
Thank you. Open space?
Nothing.
Yeah. So nothing, everything's executive session. We'll skip self-insurance because you gave the briefing, overall of what the town council did. Right? Is there anything more to add on self-insurance? Maybe I won't skip it.
We just I was telling Mark, we are in the process of evaluating the monthly report for April that we have just recently received.
Okay. Economic strike, anything today?
No financial aspects to be concerned with.
Okay. Subcommittee reports, we talked about investment in a way by talking about the interest rates. Fire Commission liaison issues, we all met at the fire department.
I know that,
Well-
we're-
The
You're on, Commissioner.
new truck is in town. It'll be in full service, front line, by June 1. Thanks to you and the town council, the second half was appropriated with the council on Monday night. We are in the process of ordering the engine, which we purchased over the last 2 fiscal years. I just got a text from the chief. We'll be getting together next week to get the paperwork on.
And it's good we got our bids in before the price increases.
Yeah, he just
Especially on the big truck, the big ladder truck.
the big ladder truck, and we want to sign the documents also for the truck that we just got authorized on Monday, because there's also looking at other price increase on that.
I would almost, come forward and say that we're ahead of most municipalities in the quality of our equipment. There's other things we got to work on, but the quality of our equipment is,
Very proud of the police and fire equipment in this town.
yeah, both departments and all the management and the
And
work
it took a
that we-
plan to get there because
Yeah.
there was a
Yes,
while
it
that we had some equipment that
Yes,
was
it
nice.
did.
used to be a lot of horse trading at budget time. Do we do it? Nah, this isn't a good year. How about next year? And
So it's a team-
meanwhile, everything got old.
Definitely a team effort. Thank you, everybody, for who pushed.
But now, yeah, police cars look like they're all pretty new and everything's working. So people should be proud of that, that aspect.
Now, if we can get the roads in order.
They're starting soon.
And we did meet at the fire department. The chief and deputy chief hosted us in 2 sessions, gave us some insight into what the challenges are, a little bit of behind the scenes chat about what's going on. And we, some of us got to walk through the bay and see some of the equipment, and it's always, it's pretty cool to see it. If people ever want a tour, all this stuff is owned by the community, so the invitation, I'll extend it on behalf of the chief. People in the community who want to see it, if you have an organization, a Boy Scout troop, Cub Scouts, Girl Scouts, anything, and you want to see equipment or go down and meet with police or fire, both chiefs are very open to having a good community involvement, so just reach out to them. And now we're going to move to public communications. So anybody from the public want to speak and address this board, we'd appreciate, now would be the time from the public. That's you.
Good. Thank you, Louis.
Thank you, Lou. Yeah, right there, Lou.
The podium.
Just have to state your name and address. Is that thing working? Yeah. Come on up here. If it doesn't work, let's get you on. You could.
Hold on, let me see if this one will reach it.
That one's jammed in the hole there.
It's probably
Here, just come on up here, Louis. We'll go to this one. There's something wrong. A couple of these don't work for whatever reason. So just join right over there on the end. See if the little green light is. There you go. Have a seat. Join us. We'll do public communications a different way tonight. Come right up here.
All right. Again, my name is Louis Schassler. I was at the other meeting that John talked about. As you can hear my whole story, I'm not going to rehash the whole story. You can see it on the video. But a couple things I did look at after I did the meeting. I pulled up the 2023 census for Southington. And 2018-2022, 5.2% of our population are considered disabled by the ADA.
Hold the microphone a little closer, just because I get calls after.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
So 5.2% of our population are disabled in this town, and over 65, it's 20%. Out of those group, I don't know how many are strictly living on just Social Security and Social Security disability and have no other income. That would be, I think, the first thing to find out, how many people are in dire straits and that's their only income. Now, like I said, between me and my wife, our income last year was with disability was like $54,000, and after paying our taxes that were like $6,700, that left us living on $43,000 a year to pay a mortgage, home upkeep, and high utilities. It doesn't leave us with much to get by. And when you're disabled, you have much more hospital bills than an average person. I just this past April, I had to go back in for more surgeries. The bill was over $70,000. I had hundreds of dollars that are on me because once you're on disability, you get put on Medicare, and you have deductibles and all other things. So disabled and elderly have a lot more medical expenses than the average person in town. So that's not even taking into consideration how many hundreds of dollars a year you're spending on top of that. So those are the things we would find out. I don't know how you'd find out how many people are in the same situation we are. I don't know if like a public notice in a newspaper that people could email saying, yes, I'm disabled. I only have, ask questions. Are you just living on Social Security or Social Security disability? You can have an email set up. People make an email, and then you can find out how many people in this town actually are struggling. Otherwise, I don't know how you'd find out how many people are in dire straits. I mean, a lot of people don't want to come forward. They're especially disabled. They're embarrassed, perhaps, that now I can't, do what I did. I became totally disabled in 2020. My wife in 2021, and it was like a light switch. We lost 50% of our income overnight. You can't, look at the future like you're retiring and retire in 10 years. I got to get this down, that down. It was just a light switch, and nothing changes. Your bills, mortgage doesn't change, and what do? And I burned through all my 401k because I had zero income until Social Security disability kicked in. So we were really tough straits, borrowing from relatives, begging basically. And, I'm only 62, my wife's 60, and it was a shock to us both, I was actually American with disabilities at age 25 with a chronic illness. I had surgeries 10 years later. I able to work for 40 more years, and then 2020 it all came back, and it was a nightmare. So that was a little shock. And like you mentioned, there is some towns that do help. Most towns wouldn't talk to me because I didn't live there. But like, say, Farmington, Hamden, and Newtown did have tax exemptions. Some were pretty good. I don't know, which is kind of interesting. Like Hamden, their income level was $65,000. They would give a married couple $750 off their taxes. A single person $500 off. Newtown, between $50,000 and $60,000 of income, they would give $2,200 off your taxes, not just assessment, your actual taxes. And let me say, I think Farmington was like $1,200 they were giving off the taxes. I don't know how there were criteria, and again, there was no real income levels, so they were all pretty high. So, and like say the state, like you mentioned, they give you $1,000 off your assessment, which is $30, and they have a sliding scale between $250 off your tax up to $1,000. Now, if you're at that highest limit, you only get $250. So in my case, which is pretty fine, I'm like $400 over the limit, so I can't even get the state one. It's so ridiculous. Like I say, with a single person gets $43,800 maximum income, but a married couple gets $53,400. So your spouse is only worth $9,600 extra a year.
Mr. Bedoin just
It's I don't know how's that math work. They don't even eat more than $9,000 a year, an extra person in your family. So it is kind of ridiculous what the state does for us. A couple of things that you're saying, where is the money going to come from? I know the town does have quite good tax abatements for businesses. I know in January, the council just approved a new one for sports, entertainment, and theme parks. So I know like Compound's got a tax abatement for a roller coaster renovation. The ski slope got tax abatement. Maybe if you need to find money, maybe you pull a little bit back from the businesses. You have 3 tiers of tax abatements for businesses in this town. Maybe we reduce that a little bit wherever we find out how many people need it. Instead of taking it from other property owners, which I don't think is right, but a lot of businesses have a lot of money. They don't maybe need all these 5, 10-year tax abatements. Maybe you can shorten them, and maybe that's where the money comes from. I don't know. So this is some things I was thinking about. I'm not sure where the money would come from, but that seems like the easiest or most logical. I don't know.
And we'll let the team go off. It's good we have a team. We'll get some dedicated people to go off and just look at options.
Yeah, and if
which
you'd
is something
like-
we haven't done in a long while.
If you want someone on the other side of the fence, I'll be willing to volunteer as a resident liaison if you want to give my input. If it would help, I mean, that
Okay.
you say, well, what do you need? What happens? What are you dealing with? And, maybe
Thank
I can
you.
give you some insight. Okay.
Thank you for that.
Thank
Thank you for coming again tonight. And more importantly, thank you for, having the courage to come to the meeting and share with us. That's hard.
It was hard, because you don't want to air your laundry.
Yep.
You know people in town, and they don't know. You don't want to see what struggles you have.
But some people don't know unless somebody tells them. Everybody assumes people know, but unless they hear it or they could relate to it, sometimes you just don't know. So we need people to come forward. We need the community, just like the picture of the Norman Rockwell picture. We need people to come forward and speak up at meetings, and because we're one town. But thank you for coming.
I got a little thick skin. Like I say, I've been disabled technically since I'm 25, and then during my work careers, I've had a lot, and disabled people also be discriminated against. But you'd be surprised how many fellow employees, managers, like if you can't get to work with an illness, I've got hooked in with text groups that were mistaken. They're like, oh, he's not pulling his weight. I ain't taking his calls. You're working 3 times harder than everyone else because you can't do what a normal person who doesn't have a disability does. But there's still a thing in the mind. I think in this country, if you're disabled, you're not worth as much as someone who isn't. You're not pulling your weight, You're not pulling yourself from your bootstraps. And it takes a toll on you after a while. It just kind of beats you down. Then at the end, it's like, am I going to lose my house? I've been there since 2002. And that's pretty scary, Where are you going to go?
We have your email, and we'll include you.
Okay.
Yeah, I have the phone number.
Great.
But thank you so
you
much for being here. Thank you for sharing, and thank you, Wayne and Bill and Candace for going on the committee to look at this. Anybody else like to address us? Anybody have anything to say? I see we got two citizens in the audience here. No?
You don't count.
Okay. Did it? Okay, well, go ahead. We'll take a 1-minute recess here. Change the battery. Is that what all that beeping is?
1 minute.
1 minute. 1 minute you got. Come on, you got 30.
Board.
They've changed the battery, and now we'll move along. I want to, board communications. Any member of the Board of Finance want to speak?
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
I was honored to be a part of the live burn training. This was I learned a lot about it. Fire department chief, all the career and volunteer firefighters, allowing me, Councilman Perry.
Well, you represented all of us there, not just you. You represented all 6 of us. So it was fun to watch you two in the pictures. That was cool. But thank you. It's good. Great experience. Any more board communications? Oh, yeah, go ahead.
If I may, I'd like to add to the agenda as item 12, department for some.
Okay, do we have unanimous consent to add an item on to the agenda, item 12, number 24?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, item number 12 will be added, and now we'll get into our business. like to take the consent agenda all at once, and just a reminder, once again, the consent agenda is where money's been received by the town for various reasons, and we're just appropriating it to the line item where it could be spent. I'll read the items in quickly, and then we'll take a motion on all of them. First one, appropriation $1,000 even, special revenue police canine supplies. Appropriation $150, special revenue police canine supplies. Appropriation $39, special revenue veterans program services. Appropriation $38, special revenue animal control program services. Appropriation $17, special revenue steps program services. And appropriation $100,000, the capital projects fund for donations, building project donations. Do we have a motion to take all of those in their entirety?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a second motion and a second by Mr. Stanforth. All those any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This consent agenda carries 6-0. Administrative business, there's a lot of them. I'll try and go through them quickly, but I will allow, we have to allow for discussion. First one, appropriation $1,000 special revenue calendar house program services. We have a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion and a second, discussion.
Money in the bank.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Opposed, abstained. So we have a 5-0-1.
501, one abstention.
Because that was, Mr. Pocock
We
works
pulled
at the
that out.
calendar house.
Yep, we-
That's why it's not on consent. That's correct.
The next one, department transfers. We're at that time of year where departments transfer stuff between the line items in their budget, which we have control over. So department transfer, $2,116. Police utilities.
Make a motion to approve the transfer.
Second.
Motion and second, discussion.
Can you just read the to and froms on those?
Okay, sure. General fund, police utilities.
So it's going to utilities?
Yeah, I don't have the whole.
From-
It's going to utilities.
Yes.
That's
It's
correct.
from temp seasonal to utilities.
Thank you.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, number 3, department transfer $4,252. Police going to vehicle maintenance.
I make a motion to approve.
Motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Where's it coming from?
It's coming
That is coming
command
from command vehicle connectivity.
Thank you.
Number 4, $1,900. Animal control going to office supplies.
regular wages to office supplies.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Number 5, department transfer $1,200. Animal control building maintenance from.
Regular wages to building maintenance.
Motion to approve?
I'll second it.
Motion and a second, Mr. Pocock. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carry 6-0. Number 6, department transfer $10,000 even. General fund, fire department, legal fees.
Coming from stipend account.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second, Mr. Pocock.
I just want to ask, this stipend account, is another 10,000 going to be coming from there? Seems like a lot of.
Volunteer stipend account isn't used as much as we'd like it to be used. The volunteer stipend
For the
account.
volunteers,
We're
yes.
reducing volunteers all the time.
Well, we
That's
don't want to, but.
No, I know,
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Number 6 carries 6-0. Number 7, department transfer $10,000. General fund, fire, vehicle maintenance, to vehicle maintenance.
From stipend account.
Make a motion to.
Second.
Motion to approve, second by Mr. Pocock. All those in favor?
Aye.
Number 8, department transfer $3,000. General fund, community services, building maintenance.
Utilities.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Number 9, department transfer $2,640 is a couple lines. $2,644. General fund elections program supplies and $1,078. General fund elections program supplies.
Coming from advertising.
from advertising and dues and conferences within the elections department.
Second it.
Motion and a second by Mr. Pocock. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, number 10, department transfer, $1,828. The general fund, heart and hypertension medical insurance.
From heart and hypertension stipends.
I'll make a motion to approve the transfer.
Any discussion?
Abstain.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?
One, me.
501. Motion approved. Number 11, department transfers, $3,802. General fund, building department overtime.
Make a
Several
motion
different
to-
lines.
That's coming from office supplies, boot allowance, and vehicle maintenance.
I'll second the motion.
Okay.
They were short some people for a while, I think. That's why they.
That and there's and extra work. There's more work over there.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Carry 6-0. Number 12, we're getting halfway. Number 12, department transfers, $200. General fund, building department travel reimbursement.
That's from vehicle maintenance.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Second.
Motion second by Mr. Pocock. All those in favor?
Aye.
6-0. Favor carries. Number 13, another interdepartment transfer, $11,183. Assessor's office contracted services.
That's coming from non-legal professional.
This is just needs a little bit of explanation. On Monday night, our director, Teresa, gave the second or third presentation to the council on doing audits on personal property.
Yep.
And the council approved that contract. This is transferring money to get the contract started. That contract will be started in the next fiscal year. If it's successful, then Teresa will work with the new manager and put a line item in her budget. But this is to get us into the next fiscal
Yeah,
year.
it should have a revenue offset.
Yep.
But I want to add the other piece to it, too. It comes in two parts. The other part is $10,000 even assessor's contracted services.
Correct.
Any discussion?
Yeah, is the program relying on a
No,
or
it's
the
fixed.
auditor?
It's a fixed amount.
Thank
I may get this wrong, $625? I got it right. Thank you, $625 per audit.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
You didn't bid on this.
Pardon?
You didn't bid on this.
I did not. I just not up my alley. I'll be on the other side.
Oh, no, no.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Number 14, department transfer, $12,500. General fund, corporation counsel, legal fees.
That's coming 10,000 from other professional services, 1,000 from dues and conferences,
Okay.
and 1,500 from professional services, all within the corp council budget.
I'll make a motion to approve the transfer.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Number 15, a transfer from contingency, $30,000 into corporation counsel, town attorney legal fees.
This is on the case we've discussed
Yep.
on numerous occasions.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We carry 6-0. Number 16, department transfer, $125,000 sewer fund for the Magonite feed system.
It's coming from refuse, recycling, and hazardous waste.
Second.
Motion, second, any discussion?
Those items that are being transferred from is the good job that our superintendent at the sewer fund is doing, watching his expenses. He's doing a good job with. Give him a pat on the back.
Yeah, the next three will be about that. So,
And the Magnite, that's the stuff I was talking about, Magnite.
Magonite, okay, it's a nice word for it.
Boy.
Magnetite. Magnetite.
All right, let's just get through this one, then we'll talk. So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we have two more similar on the Magnetite. Department transfer, $125,000 to sewer fund for the Magnetite feed system.
Supplies and chemicals.
Make a motion.
Second.
Motion is second. More discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Carry 6-0. The last one, appropriation, the sewer fund. This from the sewer fund balance for the magnetite feed system, $500,000.
Good explanation that the superintendent gave you.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 This is one of the reasons we have the sewer committee, to kind of have somebody on the ground to watch these big things. Interdepartment transfer, $544,494, general fund for salary increases.
Jim needs to explain this one.
Sure, and that's coming from FICA, Medicare, MERS line item, one of our fringe line items from the, you might remember, MERS increases were supposed to be much, much higher than they ended up being due to efforts of folks like Mark and CCM and other town leaders and city leaders going to, and the state actually changed some things within their actuarial valuation of the MERS plan, which reduced our everybody, all member towns and agencies' contributions, employer contributions during this fiscal year, but it happened after our budget. Mark and I sort of had we've kind of silently, with this board and the council's knowledge and department's knowledge, saying about $600,000 we were going to sort of leave kind of sacred, so that we can relieve next year, the 24-25's budget, of some retroactive pay increases that are coming down the pike from a long-standing period of negotiation. We'll be in the fourth fiscal year of that. So.
No matter what the arbitrator decides, it's going to be
Yeah.
4 years of retroactive pay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we want to make sure there's enough money in the contingency line item for salaries.
So
That's
you'll
what this is.
you'll see that next month on your carry forward request list as well, because it's going to be carried into the new fiscal year.
We have a motion?
Oh, we don't, motion to approve if we don't.
Motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Second, Mr. Pocock. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Carry 6-0. Number 20 is in two parts. An appropriation, $147,710. Number 210, ARPA, Water Department for water mains and projects, and the repurpose of $224,943 to lead removal in various water mains, plus $48,148 for well source exploration, and we'll do a voice vote on that.
Yes,
I'm proud. A roll call
I'm
vote.
proud to say that this board, the town council, and more importantly, my staff, we have now, with this action and the action you're going to take in a couple of minutes, we have now encumbered or used up all our ARPA money 6 months before the federal government required us to do it. So, very proud of that. This is the last of the $900,000, which is allocated toward the water department.
Okay.
So, excuse me, I wasn't here with the ARPA funds originally
We had-
allocated. So this was allocated, we're just formally.
We allocated $900,000 from the water department, but the procedure that I've set up with Amelia and Jim is that as it's broken up, it has to be voted on by this board and the town council, so that we have tracking. So if and when we ever get audited, we'll have a tracking system. So
So
that-
the new 900,000 would be used by the water
Correct.
department. Now they're saying this is how we're going to use it.
right.
This was
Originally-
against 13 million
Yeah.
total.
Originally, I did a presentation in front of this board, and I did a presentation in front of the council, setting forth all this. The public was able to put their input in. It turned out that we chose to use our ARPA money for one-time capital expenses, and that's what this is.
Good system.
Yeah, no, I just.
So do we have a motion and a second? Yeah.
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Pocock has a motion, Mr. Bedoin second, and we'll do a roll call vote, please.
Kevin Beaudoin. Candace Mazzarella.
Yes.
Wayne Stanforth.
Yes.
Joe Lebenick.
Yes.
Edward Pocock.
Yes.
Chair John Leary.
Yes. Motion passes with roll call vote
6-0.
6-0. All right, number 21, here comes some more ARPA. Number 21, appropriation for $128,016 for contracted services for the detention ponds.
These next two ARPAs will now complete the appropriation for MS4.
Okay.
Can you explain MS4?
MS4, ARPA allowed us to use funds for surface drainage and cleaning up the surface, whether it be sand, salt, whatever. MS4 is a requirement by the state of Connecticut and the federal government, EPA, that a town has to keep forth plans and make sure it improves their system on surface road drainage, and that's called MS4. know that, I have no idea.
So we need a motion for that.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Motion second by Mr. Stanforth. Let you have the next one, Ed. Any discussion? We'll go to a roll call vote again.
Candace Mazzarella,
Yes.
Wayne Stanforth,
Yes.
Joe Lebenik,
Yes.
Edward Pocock,
Yes.
Kevin Bodoin, Chair John Larry.
Yes. Motion carries 6-0 under a roll call vote. Next one, appropriation, $135,240 of Fund 210 ARPA MS4 contracted services for the catch basin cleaning.
Ditto.
Motion to approve?
Second.
There he goes. Motion to approve, second by Mr. Pocock. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Wayne Stanforth,
Yes.
Joe Lebenik,
Yes.
Edward Pocock,
Yes.
Kevin Bodoin, Candace Mazzarella,
Yes.
Chair John Larry.
Yes. Carries 6-0. Number 22 carries 6-0 in a roll call vote. The next one is the last one. Interdepartment
We have
Oh, we have the other one. Okay, yeah. Interdepartment transfers, $651,550, capital budget for various items, and an appropriation of $1,072,284, capital budget, various line items. These are budget reallocations for year one of this capital improvement plan as reflected in the budget.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman. And just as a side note, the appropriation of the $1,072,000, I know a couple of you may not have the paperwork in front of you, that's appropriated versus that, what we talked about earlier on the revenue side, on the interest income.
And this was obviously a funding mechanism which was approved by this board and the town council on Monday night.
Correct.
Okay?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second by Mr. Pocock. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 No, that carries. Now we go to the added item, number 24, which is a $1,500 transfer from training services account to the postage account within the sewer department.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion to approve, second by Mr. Stanforth. Any discussion? It was for postage for this number of sewer bills.
We need to send the bills out.
That generates revenue.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Another one for informative purposes, town manager moved $150, letting us know about it. And now we look for our favorite motion at 8:43.
Motion adjourned.
Second.
Okay, we are adjourned. All in favor? Aye. Adjourned.
Aye.
Adjourned at 8:43.